finally, we have trusts. Now, we're coming full circle because we can, in this context, think of the Arts Council as a kind of trust. The Arts Council really get a proportion of any lottery money going. So when you do a scratch card, when you play the National Lottery and lose, the Arts Council get a percentage of that from the government, from the DCMS, Department of Culture, Media and Sport, in an endowment that lasts for 3 years or whatever, you know. So they're not the same as a trust, which is a private trust. But in principle and in fact, it operates in the same way. They exist to give away money in the way that individuals and corporates do not. The Arts Council exists to give grants to the arts, great. And they have a set amount of money allocated for that purpose. And you guys all fit that remit in some shape or form. You just need to find the exact part of what you do that fits the best. More broadly, thinking about trusts in general, so when fundraisers talk about trusts, we're talking about charitable trusts and foundations. Was that resonating with anyone? Kind of, yeah, grant-giving trusts, grants from, yeah. So they're a type of charity as well, in the same way that most of our venues are, in the same way that you guys kind of are. They can be an endowed trust. So I'm really rich, I die. To avoid some tax, I put some of my money in trust and say this money is to help the poor young people that we've been speaking about. And the interest from my endowment, from the 10 million quid that I tried to avoid tax on, builds up over the years and gets distributed in grants to projects that help those young people. That's an endowed trust. We've also got fundraising trusts. Children in Need is your best easy access fundraising trust. Telethon, 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 build up a big pot of money, give it to those same children in need. And finally, we've got corporate trusts. So this is just a sneaky, tax-free arm of corporate fundraising that is dressed up to look charitable. So the Greggs Foundation, the Ronald McDonald Foundation, you know, Clark's Trust, Clark's Foundation rather, you name it. You know, you'll see when you put your little tokens in at Tesco, that's a corporate trust. Its main purpose is to make the corporate look good. As it happens, it can also make our project happen, so we're really okay with it, but we might be really okay with it. But it's essentially, it's a fundraising trust, but it has a marketing remit at the end of the day. That's the types of trusts we might be looking at. Then there's the types of people involved with that trust who you are going to need to woo. We've got the settler, that was me when I died, my endowment. So that's the lump of money, or the corporate that says 5% of that shoe that we sell is going to go into the Clark's Foundation. That's the settler. She's got very little to do with your project, and other than like things that I like. So I like to help those poor children. So that's the point of the trust. Other than that, the settler probably doesn't have a whole lot to do with giving out the money. The trustees are responsible for meeting every few months, looking at the applications that we're all going to send in and deciding that of the money available, he's going to get it, she's going to get it, and they're going to get it. Great. So they're really involved to a greater or lesser extent in the grant giving. Now, if a settler is alive, they might well be a trustee. If the settler is dead, his or her family might be trustees. Or in the case, of a corporate trust, it might be people involved with the governance of that business. And then finally, you've got our Beza. The best friend that you can have is the trust administrator. So that's the person that when you Google the trusts, as I suggest, when you look those up, that's the person on the end of the phone who's going, hello. You're going, hello, I've got a great project that helps these poor people in Bristol, and it involves circus and performing arts, and it's going to be great. Shall I send an application? And they go, yes, fine. That person, it is possible for you to build a relationship with. To a greater or lesser extent, you can build a relationship with any of the above, But that administrator, that director, that phone answering, email answering person can and should be on your list, on your circles, on your network thing. There are trusts in Bristol. You can go and be friends with them. I suggest that you do. So the problem with a lot of trusts is they only give money to charity. They exist, it's coded into their governing documents that they can only give money to charity. If you're not a charity, which I don't think any of you are, go and find a charity that wants to see your work happen and say, look, I'll do all the legwork. I've written you an application, but I can't put it into the XYZ trust. I need you to do it as part of our partnership. Great. Suddenly you just got 10 grand. It's possible. It's not happening at the moment. This is new stuff. Artists are not coming to charities. And it needn't be an arts charity. You needn't go to the Circumedias, the Bristol Old Vics, the tobacco factories, because they've got artistic projects going already. But if you go to the youth centre, if you go to the local church association, if you go to the Friends of X Park and say, do you want to do a project together? But you have to put the application in, but I'm going to write it for you, or we're going to write it together. A lot of them are going to say yes, because they're going to be really excited to be talking to a performer who's got lots of ideas and time that they maybe don't. It does come down to writing. And I don't want you to be put off by that, because it comes down to writing in the same way that your show notes come down to writing, that your copy on the back of your flyer comes down to writing. At some point, you're going to have to articulate your work to somebody who can't see it, who isn't in the room. And if you can write 10 lines of blurb, you can write 3 pages of funding application. It'll take a bit longer, but like, I guess the underlying truth to all of this is, as a donor, as a trustee of a trust, I would much rather hear from anybody, any one of you, than I would from someone like me. Because as a fundraiser, all I can do is translate your vision into a fundable format, into the language of the Arts Council or of the trust or of the corporate. As the originator of that vision, you can do it firsthand, and that's got to be more powerful. That's got to be more impactful. It's just a matter of technique, and there is some of that in there. I won't go through that great big list. We've only got 5 minutes left, and I do want to take some of your questions. There is, when you come to writing some trust applications, that grey box bottom left has the. Like, if you start your project with an Arts Council bid, and it's painful, and you chew your way through it, and you stay up late, and it's horrible, what you'll end up with is a case for support, with a budget and an audience plan and a marketing plan and all the rest of it. There's very little you then have to do to turn that into answering all the questions I suggest in that little grey box. And then there's very, very little more than that you need to do to turn that into any trust application that's out there. So you've got a basic trust application already by the time you've written your Arts Council grant application. Okay, you just have to know who the trusts are, and you have to do a little bit of language tweaking, and you're there. And the benefits are massive. You're asking for £1,000, £2,000, £10,000 grants. Here you go. Write a report. It's done. You've got the money. Everyone's paid. It's fantastic. You don't have to kind of do any more justification than that. So I really do, I'd love it if some of you were to start looking at trust applications. And the great thing is no one else is doing it. No small independent companies are applying for trust money. None of them. Well, they are now because I've started telling them to. But really, I do not hear of it. But what I say is true. It's better coming from you than it is coming from me. It's more real, it's more impactful, and it matters more to the funders. Cool. We're fundraisers now. Well done.